It is finally out, everybody. Everyone's favourite Parker Monkey has done it again. I'm of course talking about the Liam Gallagher and John Squire collaboration album, imaginatively titled Liam Gallagher, John Squire. It's now out in the world, and the album's been a long time coming. It's had a lot in the way of build-up and hype, with many critics calling it Liam's best work since Oasis, which is a statement to say the least, because for me, Liam's solo albums have been absolutely brilliant. So I guess this new collaboration project has a lot to live up to. Now, I do believe that you need to listen to an album at least 3 times over from start to finish to be able to properly give an opinion on it. So this video is more of a reaction, I guess, than a full review. So I've given it one listen all the way through. But is the album as crucial, spiritual, celestial, majestical and biblical as Liam says it is? Well, I have some thoughts. Some good, some not so good. Let's get straight into it. So the best moments on the album, without a doubt for me, are the 2 singles, Mars to Liverpool and Just Another Rainbow. Mars to Liverpool is probably my favourite song on the album. The chorus is unbelievably catchy and, let's be honest, I think it's going to be an anthem. Everybody singing that chorus during the live shows, I think it'll just be unreal live. Just Another Rainbow is also a really good song, and I think it epitomises the overall theme of the record, which is kind of sunshines and rainbows. There is overwhelming positivity in the lyrics and on the instrumental on this album, and listening to this album for me kind of feels like the sun peeking out of the clouds. And I feel like the album has the overall message of everything's going to be alright in the end, which after the pandemic and yet another economic downturn here in the UK, we very much need positive and uplifting music. And I feel like that's exactly what Liam and John have delivered here. And I feel like this album is really a guitarist's album. For me, there are subtle nods to Hendrix and Page all over this record. The song Love You Forever has a real Hendrix vibe for me in the guitars, and the Strat tone in the intro of the song is just unreal. The song almost has a Beatles-Hendrix mashup kind of vibe for me, like very much Beatles-style vocals and lyrics and Hendrix-style guitars, with that psychedelic production style and guitar sound that he's known for. I really like this tune as well, and I'm kind of hoping they release it as a 3rd single. On the song You're Not the Only One, John actually finishes the song using the same lick that Jimmy Page uses when he finishes the song Black Dog live. And there's also the obvious nods to the Stone Roses and the Beatles. Clearly a massive influence on here, as with all of Liam's music. Take the song Mother Nature's Son versus Mother Nature's Song, the final track on this album. We always knew that this album was going to be really, really derivative. And honestly, I think that's a great thing. I think that there are a lot of Beatles and Oasis fans that will really like what they're hearing on this record, but most of all, I think Stone Roses fans will be really pleased with this album. John Squire's influence has defined this record for me. His writing style, his guitar work, his production work is very much a continuation of the Stone Roses legacy. So there's no getting around it. The guitar work is exceptional on this album. Exceptional. Intricate and played with real attitude and conviction, and it sounds like John was really feeling himself on this album. Now, if I had one small criticism, it would be that some of the songs are just far too busy in places. Now, John's actually admitted this in the past, saying that on the second Stone Roses record, he wishes that he'd held back a bit in some of the songs. And I feel like on this album, he's definitely gotten better at holding back and giving the song space to breathe. Although I still do think he could have exercised even more restraint, but maybe that's just me. I do think though, when you take these songs into a live setting, they'll really come alive. And I think John's going to have his work cut out. Playing the intricate guitar parts on each of these songs live sounds like hard work to me. There is a lot going on in his guitar work. My main criticism of this album though, listening to it from start to finish, is that it's all just very, very samey. You know, when I listen to an album, I want it to take me on a bit of a sonic journey. I want it to start off big and fat and in your face, and then transition into a slower, more melancholic middle, maybe. Take it down a few notches, and then bring it back up to 11 for a massive finish. A bit like a set list at a gig. You want it to be an interesting and varied listen. And I can't help feel, but on this album, it's just all a bit samey all the way through. You know, it's pretty much the same tempo and level from the start to the finish. The album's cruising in 4th gear for me. It never really slows down or hits that sport button. And for all the great guitar parts that John wrote for this album, the tones and effects are pretty much the same all the way through again. And the production is also very samey on each of the songs. I mean, there are keys on You're Not the Only One, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same. Which for me makes it quite a tiring listen, to be honest. And when I got to the end of the record, I kind of wanted to go and listen to something else. Because by the end of it, I'd had more than my fill of these sounds. Do you guys feel the same way? I feel like bands like Arctic Monkeys and even Oasis back in the day were really good at making albums. Making 45 to 50 minutes of listening time really genuinely quite interesting and engaging throughout the full duration, taking you on a real sonic journey. An extreme example of this is probably Arctic Monkeys' last album, The Car. And before you go knocking it saying it's not real rock or it's lounge jazz or whatever, what it is an incredibly interesting listen, because no two songs are the same on that album. It's genuinely exciting to listen to because of the variation in the production on every single song, even if you're not into the actual music or lounge jazz or whatever. And for me, the Liam Gallagher John Squire album just gets quite tiring to listen to, which is surprising given that they worked with Greg Kurstin as a producer on this one. I thought that working with him would have resulted in a different outcome. I thought he'd have realised this as the producer, and maybe thought a bit more about the makeup of each of the songs, and how the production could be tweaked to keep it fresh as a full listen throughout the album. Or maybe Greg could have encouraged John to write a couple of ballads, or more up-tempo versus mid-tempo songs. You know, just to give it some variation and keep it fresh. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments. So I was reflecting on what was missing from the record, because listening to it for the first time, for me at least, I felt like something was missing, and I think I know what it is. I think it's Liam. No, hear me out. I think I would have liked more Liam in the songs. Whilst John's songwriting is fantastic in places, for example with the instrumental and the lyrics on Mars to Liverpool, probably my favourite song on the album, I feel as though Liam's personality, everything from his ego, his swagger, to the struggles in his personal life that he sung about very recently on his previous couple of solo albums, just isn't coming through on the album. And I think that's what made his solo stuff really work, were those moments where Liam actually tried to write and subsequently drew something out of himself that had real meaning. Songs like One of Us and Once that are about brotherhood and the Oasis split, allegedly, that he eventually connected with after not knowing her for all those years. Those songs are what makes Liam's solo stuff special for me. It was unfiltered Liam, and we love Liam for Liam. And on this album, I don't really get that connection. It does really feel like Liam is just singing somebody else's songs on this record for me, which he is. And for the large part, the lyrics on these songs probably don't mean a great deal to him. Don't get me wrong, he still sings them with conviction, and his voice still sounds fantastic on the record, and it has been ever since he rekindled his voice on 2017's As You Were. But it just feels like something's missing for me. Let me know in the comments if you kind of get what I mean here, or if you think I'm completely wrong for that matter. I just want to know what the consensus is. So there you have it. I do think this album will get mixed reviews from fans. Overall though, I do think Stone Roses and Oasis fans will be pleased with this album. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It mashes up Oasis and the Stone Roses. Although for many, I do think it will leave a lot to be desired. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Liam has actually said in a recent interview though, that he does plan on making more music with John, and that this is just the beginning. And if that is the case, then I really hope the next album is more collaborative. I want to see Liam keep writing songs, to be honest, or at least contributing to the vocal and the melody on them. And if this next album does happen and it is more collaborative, i.e. we see much more of a contribution from Liam in the creative process, then I do think it will be a very special one indeed. Aside from this new album though, there is so much new music to look forward to as we approach this summer festival season. New albums from Kings of Leon and Kasabian, not to mention the return of Catfish and the Bottlemen. I think Idols just dropped a new album as well. So there's loads to look forward to. And if you watched my last video, then you'll know that I now have a monthly newsletter up and running, in which I'll share with you guys what I'm listening to and what I'm watching, as well as some home studio music making tips and gear that I'd recommend, that sort of thing. So if that sounds good to you, just enter your email in the link in the description and it'll automatically add you to my email list. And whilst you're down there, you can also find a link to download the Logic file for my new single All In. So if you're interested at all about how I made the song at home, you can download the session, open it up in Logic or GarageBand on your Mac or your iPad, and deconstruct the session basically. I also documented the whole process of making the song, so for anybody interested, I'll leave a link to the series at the end of this video. And with that said, do hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new, and if you are on a YouTube binge right now and are wondering what to watch, then I will leave a few links to some videos on screen in a second that you might fancy watching next. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. 5 and you know it's true.